Hey guys, this is RxCX Dietrich, also known as Coeducation on Twitter, and I am here with Abe Kilpin. Did I say that right?
Kelvin, yeah. Most people mess that up. Usually it's like Kiplin, but the L does come before the P.
And he is the creator of a band called To Give You the Stars, and his album 2492 is on Bandcamp, so just go ahead and go to togiveyouthe.stars.bandcamp.com, and it's there for streaming. Every song is there for streaming. I cannot recommend it enough. So, how are you doing today, Abe?
I'm perfectly fine. Enjoying a Saturday off.
How is your beard doing?
It's growing at an incredible rate.
Now, we were talking before we finally set up this interview, and I'm not kidding, guys. Me and him talked for like 10 minutes, just off the rails, off the cuff, and I kept telling him we had to start this interview because it's so easy to talk to this guy. He's so laid back and humble, and his beard does not get in the way. It's awesome.
Well, sometimes it does.
So, go ahead and just let everybody know how you came up with this concept of doing a whole album by yourself and just, wanting to do something as epic as this. Just tell us how it all started.
Okay. Well, that's, I've mentioned Coheed before, and I gotta really mention, if I'm talking about how To Give You the Stars got started, I really have to mention them. I started listening to them back in like 2005, I think, when Good Apollo Volume 2 came out. And I got really into that album, and I got really into In Keeping Secrets. And those albums pretty much just inspired me to work on my own story. And I wanted to tell that story the same way that they're telling it, through, music. So it pretty much just started then. I wrote like one song that was like 8 minutes long. And since then, it has turned into like this huge, sprawling saga that's gonna be like, I don't know. Right now I have like 3 albums written already. And I'm working on a novelization of the story. But it really was just, hearing that really awesome, progressive science fiction story in the music, it just really inspired me to do it. And at the time, and still to this day, most of my friends just aren't very musically inclined. So, I just started playing all the parts by myself, and I realized that I could pretty much do it by myself. So it's just how it's been. I kind of really like keeping creative control. When you have other people, you start getting more complicated. People, want to change things or do things their own way. I like to be the only person that has any creative input most of the time.
Well, like you said, you've done every instrument by yourself: drums, bass, guitar, vocals, and I can just tell you, just from listening to the first song, the title track 2492, it's just it seems like you know how to do the tone of a song. Like, the emotion that goes behind it. You're not doing it just to sound epic, but it definitely helps push the music along. And
yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that Coheed is one of your biggest influences, because when I started listening to Good Apollo Volume 1, which I believe is the one that came out in 2005.
Yeah.
And, you have the Willing Wells. And that was the first time that, Coheed has done a lot of good epic songs, like In Keeping Secrets, Light in the Glass, 2113, and so forth. But when you get to Good Apollo, it's like Willing Wells 1 through 4 is just so big that it's an epic, and they've continued that since then, with almost every album. But your songs are just, everything is big in scope. There's a few in there that gives you a chance to kind of relax and reflect on it.
Right.
But, you just hit it hard from the beginning, and even the last song, which kind of slows down from the rest of the album, builds up into something big.
Yeah.
And I want to know, just, how does it feel to know that you've created something? I guess from me telling you, and I'm sure a lot of other people will tell you, how does it feel to know that you've like hit every nail on the head in terms of what you wanted to do and how people perceive it?
Well, I really appreciate that. First of all, I don't necessarily hold the exact same opinion because, it's one of those things where I'm the one that's making it, so it's hard for me to look at it objectively. But, as long as people are receiving it that way, then I must have done something right. It feels awesome. I really, I put a lot of work into that. I worked on that album for probably 2 years between recording it, writing it, and mixing it myself. And it's really good to know that when someone, lets it in, that they really can enjoy it and that everything kind of fits together properly the way I kind of intended it to.
It took you 2 years to do that album. It takes most bands 3 or 4 years to release an album. And it took you 2 years to do everything, including processing the album. And there's a vacuum in the background. That's awesome.
Well, you gotta be clean,
That's right. It took you 2 years. And just, again, I don't think I've ever known someone who's done an album by themselves, well, with the exception of Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters, but I don't know how long it took him to make that first album that he did, but
honestly, I thought that was a pretty long time frame because, I was working full time while I was, working on that, so it wasn't like I was working on it every day. I had a couple of hours a week that I could really dedicate to recording and mixing, so I could have done it a lot, quicker, but it's just a matter of, having to actually go to have a real job sometimes.
Man. Yeah, and like I said, from your Facebook page, you got over 1,000 fans, and oh my gosh, it's like the worst timing for a vacuum clean. Like, seriously.
I can barely hear it. I don't know if that helps you at all.
Okay, it's over. I'm going to cut that part out, hopefully. So where was I? What did I say?
You were talking about Facebook and followers, I believe.
Gotcha. Yeah, so on Facebook you have like over 1,000 fans, and how long has this album been out? I haven't done my research because I'm a loser.
I released 2492 in February of last year, so 2012, I believe.
Oh man, so this album's been out for almost 2 years now.
Yeah. It's been around, but I mean, most of the world doesn't know it exists, so.
Well, hopefully I can change that. I've definitely been pushing your stuff on my Twitter account, and everybody needs to hear this. It's so serious. There's so many good lyrics, and you guys don't understand. It may sound like I'm gushing, and even though I am gushing, it really is a great album. And if you like Coheed, it's definitely something you want to get into because there's one big story in the whole thing. And from what we were talking about the other day, you said it's like part 1 of Act 1.
Yeah, it's actually a really huge story that, like I said, it's been growing in my head since 2005. And the reality is, Act 1, I kind of split the story into 3 acts. And so they're kind of like 3 story arcs. And the album 2492 is only really the first third of the first act. And I'm also working on a new EP. I did release a demo from that EP this week on my Facebook page. And that EP is going to cover the second third of Act 1, and then a full-length album has been written. I'm not working on that one yet, but I wrote it probably 2 years ago at this point, and that covers the last third of the first act in a 3-part story arc. So it's going to be pretty massive.
So let's go ahead and take this time to kind of fill people in on what the whole story is about, or at least the first part of the first act. Kind of give us a little summary, so when people do decide to listen to it after they hear this interview, because you guys need to listen to it, just let them know kind of what they're in for, story-wise.
Yes. Well, I don't pretend to think that it's the most original thing on earth, you know what I mean? But I'm just trying to put as much emotion into it as I can. Basically, it's a post-apocalyptic story that starts in the year 2492 on Earth. And basically Earth is dying, as you might expect it would in that year. And the main character gets chosen or forced really to go out into space and look for a new planet for the people of Earth to live on. And that's kind of the catalyst that starts the whole story. Basically, I can say this without spoiling too much because it happens right at the beginning of the album. He finds a new planet, and there are already humanoid creatures living on it. Shouldn't call them creatures because they really are just humans. And that is problematic because the people of that planet will not allow our people to migrate there, at least not peacefully. So it becomes a big conflict between, our main character trying to figure out how he's going to deal with, on one side he's got a planet that's dying, his own planet, and he wants to save those people. And on the other hand, he's got a planet where we can go to live, but they're not friendly. They're not going to let that happen. And while he's there, he actually falls in love with a girl on that planet, so it makes it more complicated when he's talking about possibly starting a war between the two. It's sort of a Romeo and Juliet in space, if you will.
Romeo and Juliet in space. Wow, you should actually use that. That's really good because of course, I've listened to the album many times, and I feel that is a perfect way to describe it. Romeo and Juliet in space. Now, hopefully, we all know that how Romeo and Juliet ended, and hopefully it ends on a better note than that when we get down to it, Abe. But
I don't want to. I'm not going to comment on that.
Not even a hint.
Oh well, I can say this. I like to tell when I'm telling people like what kind of story it is. I call it a tragic space opera. So you take from that what you will.
Well, Romeo and Juliet was a tragedy too. So now I can just prepare for the feels.
Yeah, exactly.
It is.
I mean, to be honest, like I said earlier, I really the story. I was working on the novel earlier this year. And I did finish a first draft of the novelization of Act 1 a couple of months ago. And my main goal for the story was to get people emotionally involved. Whether that's upsetting you or, making you laugh, making you smile, or keeping you, entertained. I don't know. It's just mostly I wanted to make sure that people were going to feel something for the characters and feel like they could relate to the story. And there are a lot of things that happen that are going to be quite upsetting, I think. But that to me is very entertaining. I think a good story is the one that can kind of make you get choked up a little bit,
Oh, definitely. And hold on. Time to cut stuff out in a second.
Yeah.
People are talking in the background. Oh man. Are we good? They're talking? Okay. So, or you were saying something like, makes them feel. Yeah, you definitely, any emotion in any story is a good emotion to have as long as it's not hatred for the quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and that's kind of a risk I think I'm running too, is that, people may end up being upset to the point that I don't know. I'm worried that people might be upset by it to the point that they don't want to re-experience the story. Not musically. Musically, that doesn't really make much sense. But I did have a question for you. When you listened to it for the first time or the second time, were there any parts where you felt a specific emotion or?
Well, again, I don't want to give too much away since you've already said you hate spoilers for this album for people who haven't.
Well, I don't hate spoilers. I love spoilers, but I know that other people don't like things to be spoiled for them, so.
Well, let me put it this way. There's a certain song near the end of the album where basically the conflict is about to come to a head, and it's about, man, how do I say this without spoiling it?
Well, you can at least tell me are you talking about the storm?
No, I'm actually talking about the chase.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
There's a part, we'll just say it's part of the Romeo and Juliet type thing where he doesn't want to leave her behind.
Right.
I believe that's the chase.
Yeah.
And that part really, it's just like, you feel bad.
Well, is it a softer song with like a more of acoustic feel? Or the chase is that like, it's like a 6-minute really long song with a breakdown in the middle?
Right. I'm talking about the part where she doesn't want him to leave.
Okay, I think you're talking about The Storm then.
Oh, I'm so terrible. I have nothing in front of me.
It's like a really quiet song, generally,
Yeah.
compared to the rest of the album. Yeah, you're talking about The Storm.
It's where it's like she's just saying, please don't leave me.
Yeah, that's it.
And at that point, it's like, you understand.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's conflicted. Yeah, because then it builds up to the next song where it says,
right.
I know that I'm leaving, but my heart will debate. Again, guys, the lyrics of this album are really well thought out. And story-wise, you'll be able to connect things from the end of the album to the beginning. Especially the last song definitely ties in with the first song.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of reminded me of Year of the Black Rainbow a little bit from Coheed, because they ended Year of the Black Rainbow with the same music that it started the album with.
Yeah.
And you definitely had that kind of thing going for you.
Well, that's one of those things that I really liked about some of, especially their early albums. They have a lot of recurring themes in the first like 3 albums that they've written, and that's just something I really love about, albums when you can hear stuff from 2 songs ago, or you hear stuff from 2 albums ago. It kind of brings you back to that point. I think it's really cool. So a lot of the music I've written is designed to do that. Even in the next couple of albums, there are themes that you're going to hear recur from 2492 in the next like 2 albums. There's just stuff that's going to keep coming up, and it'll all kind of work together and feel like one piece.
So I have to ask real quick, are we going to get more choruses where it starts off with "This is the world"?
Not in the next 2. That theme died with 2492. Cause that was sort of, I don't know, I felt like that was the introduction, like, phrase for the story, and 2492 kind of acts like an intro to the full, concept, so that one isn't gonna recur. But there are a couple other musical themes that will definitely pop up again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I definitely loved that, because you have, like, in 2492, you have the "This is the world" chorus, but then in The Return, you also say "This is the world" for Hail Me as a Hero, and I really loved being able to connect the first song with that song, because he's back, so it's kind of just brings it back to that whole world.
Exactly. Yeah. And the same can be said for the novelization. I worked really hard to fit in the lyrics that I had already written into the book. So like I'm not saying that it's going to be released anytime soon, but in the eventual release of that book, you'll be able to pick out lyrics in each of the chapters that really tells you exactly what song you're on, and it all kind of will fit together that way.
Now, is it going to be 1 chapter per song, or is it going to encompass the first act altogether, or just that album?
Well, the novel is the first act. It's a full first act. So where it'll
encompass all the CDs in the first act.
Yeah, there'll be 2492, an EP, and the next album will all be taken care of in the first book. And it doesn't really work out that way for like 1 song per chapter. It's more like, it's pretty close, but there are some times where you just needed extra material. And there's a lot of extra detail that went into the novel that you just don't get in the music. So you do end up with a few extra chapters. It's not like chapter for chapter. Sometimes a song might cover 5 chapters, but there's so much information that went into the book that you'll hear lyrics from that song over 5 chapters. You know what I mean?
That is incredible. And like you said, that's probably not going to come out anytime soon. Most likely after you've completed it in song, right?
I don't know. It's in the editing process right now, so I'm kind of going through it and trimming it down a little and rewording things. I really haven't decided how I even want to release it yet. I kind of want to try to get it published in a traditional sense, but the easiest way to do it is just to go like e-publishing on Kindle and stuff like that. But I haven't really decided. But the reality is we'll definitely get the EP before the book is done. And in a perfect world, I'd probably release the next full-length album at the same time as releasing the novel. But that remains to be seen.
So Here's the big question, and I'm sure that people who have heard your album and realize that you're a one man band have asked you, how are we going to hear this live?
That's a good question.
Have you talked to anybody?
Well, a lot of people ask me that. A lot of people ask me that, especially when they're really getting into the music. They're like, dude, do you ever play live? Or, I mean, how does that work? When can I see you? And the reality is I've never played a live show as To Give You the Stars, first of all. And I think most of that is just stage fright, to be honest with you. I get kind of nervous thinking about getting up in front of people and doing my thing. But the other part is I don't want to be the only person up there. If I did get up there, because I have kind of a stage fright issue, I would want to have a band behind me.
An interview right
but like
now,
I said earlier,
I
like to remain creatively in control of, what's going on. So I don't know. It's just kind of two things I haven't really put a band together for two reasons. One, I'm kind of scared of it, to be honest. And two, bringing people into the mix kind of makes it more complicated, I guess. But honestly, lately, I really have been thinking about it. Cause I have a couple of people who continue to ask me, every couple of months, hey man, when are we getting a band together? Really want to drum for you, or I really want to play lead for you. So honestly, lately I have been thinking about it. So it could happen. There could be a point in the near future where To Give You the Stars is actually playing live, which I think would be really cool.
I think a lot of people would be very happy, even if maybe you just had some sort of hello vacuum. Maybe if you had some sort of like stage show where, and that's probably not going to help your stage fright any, but kind of just have the music playing and you out there and singing.
Yeah,
something to kind of connect to people,
That would be worse, I think. No, the idea is I could do it. It's just that I don't know, it's one of those things. I like to be able to hide behind an instrument, I think. Like I used to play drums in a couple of different bands, and for me that's not a big deal. I love playing the drums, I really do. But I think it's partly that you can kind of hide back there. You're kind of in the shadows of everybody else and you just do your thing. So it's just easier for me to get up there and play drums. Frankly, if I could play drums for To Give You the Stars, I would choose that because it really is my favorite instrument. It's my favorite instrument to play. It's my favorite instrument to write. But, most likely if a band got started, I would be the front man. So I'd be rhythm guitar and lead vocals.
Well, maybe you could just do guitar and lead vocals I don't know. I don't see how you could play all the bridges and all the scales and everything that you play while singing. I mean, it's incredible.
Well, the thing is, when I'm writing a song, I write them on the rhythm guitar. So that sort of becomes muscle memory. And then when I get the lyrics involved, I already sort of have memorized the guitar parts with my hands, so I don't necessarily have to think about it as much.
And speaking of playing all these instruments, how long did it take you to? Well, you said you've been playing in bands before, but
yeah, a little bit. Not like anything big, and not for very long usually.
How did you do self-teaching on every single instrument you did, including singing?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I took piano lessons when I was a kid. A lot of people do that, and I took them for probably 5 years, and I have since forgotten everything about music theory that I was ever taught. And yeah, pretty much one day I guess I was like 15, maybe even a little bit younger, and I was hanging out with a couple of friends on a Sunday afternoon, and they were playing guitar, and there was an acoustic drum set, and I sat down behind it, and I'd never really touched drums in my life. I sat down and I could play. So it was sort of just one of those things. I sat down, I knew how to play the drums without ever really thinking about it. And the same can't be said for like guitar. I did teach myself to play the guitar. I mean, I don't think I'm that great at it, but I play in strictly drop D, and I taught myself all of that. And my vocals have only just gotten to the point where I think they sound pretty good. Personally, I think the vocals on 2492 are subpar, but I definitely think that on the EP and the upcoming albums, they're going to be much, much better.
So, can we expect a re-release of 2492 with updated vocals?
I don't know. That would probably be cool, but the thing is, it's like, if I'm gonna re-record it, why not just record new material? I don't know.
That's a good point. I was just kidding, by the way. But yeah, I mean,
I'll be honest with you, it has crossed my mind that in a perfect world where To Give You the Stars becomes, this big thing that I want it to be, the next big science fiction saga, in a perfect world, I think like on the 10th anniversary of the release of 2492, I'd release a remastered version at least. You know what I mean?
And then everybody would hate it because they like the original better.
Exactly. All the diehard fans are like, you ruined it.
So, let's see, we've gotten through talking about the live shows, your musical genius. I mean, it's really cool that you're really humble about it, but I mean, somewhere in the back of your mind, you do realize that this is a pretty big undertaking for one person.
Oh yeah. I mean, personally, I don't give people my album. I don't give it out thinking that they're not going to like it. I'll be honest with you. I try to remember that, people's opinions are going to differ, but most of the time if I'm like, you should listen to this, I'm not thinking in the back of my head, they're not going to like it. You know what I mean? I'm pretty confident that if they give it a chance, they're going to find something to enjoy. I don't know.
No, that's perfectly fine. I mean, listen to this album; it's great. You're missing out.
I try not to say that just because it comes off as, a little bit pompous, I guess. But it's not like I really do have great faith in the music I've made. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't blame you. You had full creative control over it. You did every bit of the music. You had every bit of the story under your control. What's the word?
I don't know.
Like, you didn't have to worry about advertising. You're doing it yourself. You're pushing yourself out there, and why not? It's like you said.
It is like you said. It is a big job for one person, and that's another reason why I've been thinking about getting a band together, because it's really hard to get a name out there, especially when the only thing I really have to sell right now is an album. People don't really take that seriously because it's like, well, you're a band, right? And I'm like, no, it's more of a brand. But the only product I'm selling is music. So people, it's really hard to make a name for yourself without actually going out and meeting the people who are going to listen to it. You know what I mean?
That's right. You need to do a countrywide tour of just
you. Yeah.
Maybe do a contest where you'll play in somebody's backyard with an acoustic.
That would be cool.
Speaking of acoustics, like you said earlier in the interview, you have released a demo for your next EP, or your first EP, I should say, and you did it To Give You the Stars Day. Now, is that going to be a day every year? Like, what does that signify, really? Because I know it's not the day you release the album.
No, well, To Give You the Stars Day, it kind of is related to what we were just talking about, the fact that it's very hard to get the word out. It's sort of an excuse for me to make an event on Facebook and invite all my friends and invite all their friends and get people talking about it and get people listening to it. And that's why To Give You the Stars Day, I usually give out, like a free download of the album, where I'm giving out, like this year I gave out some really big, prize packs, which I'm still working on, by the way, but they'll be getting out soon. But,
I didn't win it.
No, you didn't. I apologize. Maybe I can get you something for doing the interview.
Well, you're giving me the interview for doing the interview.
Well, that's true. I have a couple of extra bumper stickers I'm trying to get rid of. So, if you're into that.
Here, let me unload my extra junk for you. Just your whole back window can just be To Give You the Stars.
Hey, I ride around with 2 of those bumper stickers on my own car. So. No, but the thing, like I said, it's kind of just an excuse for me to get people talking about it online, because it is hard for me to get it, out there by myself. So the more people I can get involved, the better. And the reason it happens in September is, I mean, I know not in the United States, but in other countries, they list, when you're writing out a date, they list the day first, and then the month, and then the year. So, 2492, is the date. If you look at it, September 24th, it would be 24/9/2013. So that's why I picked that day.
Well, that's good because it's going to be 2000 for a long time.
Exactly. It will never, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to live to see 3001, you know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. So, we got a while to go.
We're not going to live to see 2492 and actually see your space opera play out.
I doubt it, but who knows?
You should put your album, like everything you make, you should put in a time capsule and say, do not open until 2492.
That would be hilarious. You know, it's kind of like watching, okay, it's not at all, but still. You know how Back to the Future, in the second one, they go to 2015, and it looks completely ridiculous. Like, back then, we didn't know what it was going to look like, but now that we're here, it's like, this is hilarious.
Everything's still the same, pretty much.
That's what, well, it is, but it isn't. I mean, there's so much more technology that they didn't even think about, but they have the really ridiculous science fiction technology in Back to the Future, like the hoverboards and the holograms, which is actually starting to happen, I guess. And,
don't forget the self-tying shoes.
The self-tying
they're kind of making now. I think they're making those now.
Yeah. Well, the dehydrated cooker, so you just add some water and it makes like a big full meal for you.
I bet the people who are doing the piloting in 2492 wish that was made.
Probably. That's true. Because they don't get
that. Yeah, you should think of that for the next album. I put my water on my food.
Well, I do elaborate. Like I said, in the book, there's a lot of detail that you're just not going to get from the music. And I do cover that kind of stuff, like what they're eating and what they eat while they're in space and blah, blah, blah. It's pretty
intriguing.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I really am excited to share the story with people. It's just, right now it's not quite ready yet. But it's got a lot of really cool details and a lot of really cool scenes, I think, that people are going to really enjoy.
Awesome. Now, I want to give people a chance to hear this interview because I really do want to talk to you about your next EP and your demo for sure. But for people who are just now listening about you for the first time and possibly, hopefully, listening to the album for the first time after they hear this,
yeah.
You know, I want to follow up with you for sure, maybe in a month or two, about where you're going with the next stuff.
Sure.
And that being said, I think we're about to wrap this up, but I do want to ask one last question before we head out.
Okay.
You did do an acoustic demo for your next EP, and it kind of made me wonder if you ever planned on going through your first CD and maybe doing acoustic versions of those and maybe posting them on YouTube for everybody to hear. Maybe an acoustic version of Daughter or an acoustic version of The Storm.
Is an interesting idea. Actually, there is an acoustic version of The Storm on YouTube.
Is there?
Yes.
I plug that real quick. Let everybody know where that's at, your YouTube.
Yeah, my YouTube is just youtube.com/TGYTS. Same thing with Facebook. It's facebook.com/TGYTS to give you the stars. But yeah, up on YouTube I do have a couple acoustic versions. One was The Storm and the other was 2492. I did an acoustic version of as well.
Wow.
They're not like fantastic quality, honestly. I recorded them on my phone camera, so it's not fantastic. But you can kind of get a sense of I definitely changed the songs a little bit when I play them acoustically. So it might be something I would be into. It would probably help with getting the music out there. The more videos you put up, the more often you're going to get viewed. So that's an interesting idea.
I didn't even know this until now. You've been holding out on me, Abe.
We should go check them out.
And you have no beard in these, or you have facial hair but no beard.
It's very small. That was the beginning of that beard. That was like right when I was starting to grow it, probably almost 2 years ago, maybe even longer. I don't even remember anymore.
No wonder you're just doing the guitar. Your beard hasn't grown big enough to do the rest of the instruments for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking before we started the interview that Abe really does not look like the singer behind this band, and that's nothing to disrespect him. It's just so weird to see someone with such a long, epic beard do songs like this. Of course, everybody said that about Claudio and his massively epic hair too. And
well, actually, you know what? That's a good point. That's a very good point. To me, when I first started listening to them, I think the first song I ever heard was A Favor House Atlantic I think I saw it on MTV or something. And, I couldn't believe the voice that was coming out of such a humongous, like burly, thick guy. You know what I mean? He just looks like he would be growling, and instead he's got this amazingly high voice, and it really doesn't fit in my opinion.
I agree with you. The first song I heard from Coheed and Cambria was also A Favorite House, and this may be breaking news to everybody, but I actually hated the song at first. I really did. It was I don't
think you're allowed to say that.
I'm allowed. Well, as soon as everybody hears this interview, I can see my followers count going to 0. I mean,
never mind.
Right? I'll retract that last statement. But no, I agree. It was so weird to see such a big guy do that, and thankfully I heard the crowing not long after that, and I gave him another chance, and I'm actually really happy for that now.
Oh yeah,
and
the crowing is probably I want to say it's my favorite song they've ever written. I think.
Well, I think The Light in the Glass is mine, but we're detracting from To Give You the Stars.
This is true.
At this point.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how he cuts his beard ever so often so he can have more band members. His next he's going to have a harp and a violin.
All played by beard hair.
You're just singing at this point.
No, eventually I won't even need to do that.
I'll just produce. You guys go have fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, Abe, thank you very much for this interview, and I'm hopeful that people will hear this and give your album a chance. It's really good. I believe it's 50 minutes long of just non-stop in your face epic songs, and it really doesn't slow down for more than 10 or 15 seconds in the middle, and then near the end it kind of slows down a bit, but it doesn't mean it's bad. It just gives you time to breathe.
Yeah, before building up to the ending. I really appreciate the interview. I really like talking to people about To Give You the Stars and what I want to do.
So is there any last sell point you want to give for the album before we let you go, man?
That one, you kind of caught me off guard. You should listen to it because it's pretty good.
Or else.
I think it's something that, like I said earlier, I think it's something that people, no matter what kind of music you're into, I think there's enough variety that you're going to kind of find a song that you can relate to and you can enjoy. And I think for that reason alone, it's worth, sitting down and listening to it for an hour of your time,
And another point,
especially to fans of science fiction. Anybody who's into science fiction is going to want to get involved, I think.
And another good point is, and I don't know how you're going to do your future albums, but this album is really family friendly. I mean, you could let kids listen to this album. There's no cursing. There's really no gory moments. There's a part where somebody dies, but it's really not the focus of the song.
Right. Yeah, it's like, well, the thing is, that's a totally different topic, I guess. I'll be honest, I wrote a couple of songs, one on the EP and one on the full-length album that's coming after 2492 that does curse once, like literally once I say the S word for everybody who might be offended by that. And I don't know, I just think it kind of adds, it's in the book, it's just one of those things where the character is in a place where he's angry or he's upset, and it just felt like it was right. But the story is going to progress in a much darker way as we go forward. But I don't foresee it being super, offensive or anything like that. I want to try to keep it as family friendly as possible.
Awesome. Well, again, even PG movies has the S word in it. So
Yeah, that's true.
as long as your parents know, kids, that you're listening to a sci-fi epic that has maybe one curse word, you'll be okay.
I don't think, 2492, definitely, there should be no issue with that. But then, like I said, the next album.
By the time your other albums come out, they'll be old enough to listen to curse words. So
Exactly.
It'll be okay.
Exactly. At the rate I'm going, they're going to be well past the age where their parents are really looking over their shoulder. So.
Awesome. So yeah, Abe, everybody who listened to the interview, thank you for listening. You can stream the entire album for free on Bandcamp, togiveyouthe.stars.bandcamp.com. The album is actually out on iTunes right now.
It is, yeah.
And I believe it's $10?
Yeah, it's the regular iTunes price, I think. On Bandcamp you can download it for, I think, $7. So it's actually cheaper to go that way if you're interested.
Well, there you go. I think you have to inflate it so iTunes get a cut, right?
Yeah, a little bit. They take a bigger chunk than Bandcamp does. I'm actually gonna have, I did order some, physical copies of the album To Give You the Stars Day 2013 also. And they're going to be available soon as well. If anyone is interested in a physical copy of the CD, and I definitely, if you're interested, I'll sign, anybody's copy that they want to be signed. Usually I sign them just because I think people will like that. So, if you want to get that, that'll be at, I think it's togiveyouthe.stars.bigcartel.com. I believe that's the URL.
And when can we expect that?
I have them now, so I probably should go over to that site and make sure that they're available because I had them sold out. But I probably will just put them up today. So anybody who's listening will be able to order one if they're interested.
Yeah, including myself.
Yeah.
I've been wanting one forever. I've only listened to the album for like a week now.
Yeah. So he's been wanting one for a week.
Which is forever in internet time.
That's true. That's a good point.
So yeah, again, and then like he said, his Facebook.com/TGYTS.
Yep.
And his Twitter account is also twitter.com/TYGTS.
TGYTS.
That's what I said, right?
Yeah. No.
No, I failed.
You failed.
Sorry. TGYTS.
All you gotta do is take the first letter of To Give You the Stars and you got it.
So that's what it means. Oh,
yes.
I'm so relieved now. I had no idea why there was that.
I hope you're kidding.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know you well enough to know that.
I've actually been trolling you this whole time. I've never heard the album once.
Well, either way, people are gonna hear me talk about it, so I don't really care.
It's a win-win.
Exactly.
So, Abe, thank you very much. Everybody, go ahead and listen to the album, and hopefully we follow up with you soon.
Yeah, man, thanks. It was a lot of fun.
All right. See you guys.